Hello everyone, we are live yet again. This is one of my authors chats of the week. And as I wait for the notifications to go out that I'm live and up and running, also keep an eye out for my co-host this week, and then we'll get going and start talking about books, writing, publishing, and everything in between. And since the holidays, well, as I'm filming, the holidays are right around the corner, I've been scrambling, trying to make sure everything is ready for, the non-work side of things and getting the house ready and trying to figure out gifts for everybody. And meanwhile, juggling everything I do with my work and my holiday sales that's going on for some of my signed copies and etc. so on. But hello. But yeah, so it's always a busy time of year. And yeah, holidays. But the cool thing was this past weekend, I actually was able to do an overnight at a safari park as a person who loves all sorts of animals. That was fantastic. And here we go. Let me try to get this thing back to, one, turn my volume up. Sorry, guys. And two, try to figure out why I do not like the fact that it's been doing this.
The boxes.
Yes, I dislike it thoroughly. And I'm trying to figure out how I can adjust that. Hold on. I've got it down to 2 recently, and I don't know why.
I think it's like in the effects. I'm not 100% sure because I haven't done multi-effects, but...
Okay, that's as close as I get because it doesn't take it down to like a one-on-one anymore. I don't know why. That's annoying to me. But hi, how are you?
Good, how you doing?
Good. Thank you for coming out and joining me today to talk all things books.
No problem. I'm just sharing with my family before I get yelled at for not sending it.
Yes, do send it out to the world. I love that. And I was just rambling on some non-bookish things that I recently was doing some little safari tours over the weekend, which was kind of fun because I love everything to do with animals. And even though I write epic fantasy, all my series up to date heavily involves some kind of animal element. So I just love all that. But since it's your first time kind of co-hosting with me, I'll let you introduce yourself and a little bit of what you do in the book world, and we'll go from there.
Okay, I am Rielle. I am what I consider a mood writer. So the very first book that I wrote is fantasy. It is what my editor told me, an urban high fantasy. And I'm excited for that. We're still delving down and getting the edits done for it because I want it to be just right. But on the 23rd of this month, I have a romance novel, a little holiday book coming out. So that's actually going to be my first one. I'm kind of excited about it.
That's fun. It's perfect time to get the holiday books out there. I've never figured out a good story that kind of falls in a holiday theme, but when you have that right spark, they're great because people are in the mood and they want to read it and just get them in that whatever the spirit of whichever holiday you're writing about. So what's your holiday book about since it's about to launch?
Okay. It's by Christmas, and it's called 8 Dates of Christmas. It's not the traditional holiday book, I would say, in that everything is happy, hunky-dory all the time. I'm a person who writes on what they feel, and I guess with this one, I tackled a lot of unhealed grief, to say. So I think that one thing that people can definitely, thank you, AK, connect with will be the fact that sometimes you miss people on holidays, and it's okay, but you have to heal from it or else things can happen. So it's a story about Kendrick and Shanice and how it's a fake dating trope, but also kind of like friends. And yeah, that's really cool. I'm excited for people to read it. Some of my other author friends started reading it today, so
that's exciting.
I'm excited.
You should be excited. You said this is going to be your first book that's launching?
This will be the first one that anyone reads.
Yay.
Yeah, so I'm very excited about it.
I mean, you're always going to be excited about every book you launch, and that's just part of the thing. But your first book is just that, that much more special because it is your first book. And I can't tell you how many times it's just wows me when you're able to. I don't know if you're doing physical copies, but the first time I physically held a proof of my book was like so wowing. I'm like, wow, it's tangible. This is coming. This is happening. All my hard work. And that's, again, really neat. But you also mentioned that your first story you were writing was this fantasy, urban high fantasy, which I'll get to that genre in a moment. But what made you decide to do a holiday story and release it first?
I was always going to write this.
I love it.
But when I wrote it, I decided, so I am involved in groups like 12 Days of Black Christmas. And it's us getting together to just write different stories. All of them have different themes and different types of people. And it's just really cool. And I got invited to be a part of that. And it was just like, you don't have to wait. You can do this now. You don't have to wait until next year to put it out. What's the point of waiting? Just do it now. You know, so I was encouraged not to hide behind delays by really good friends.
And yeah, well, one thing about your first book is it helps you, even when going through the release process, you start learning the process, and so it makes it that much more smoother for future works to come on. So being able to rip the Band-Aids, so to speak, you know, does help. And the fact that you have a group that encourages you to do this, that's amazing, because there are a lot of authors out there who try to figure it out all on their own. And those support systems are just, you know, they're phenomenal. They help answer your questions, support you when you're down, bolster you, and kind of get your spirits up. And those are absolutely amazing. So how did you come across and find your particular writing groups?
Okay, so I'm in a couple, and I think it just for me stepping out, I have really bad anxiety. So and I'm a super introvert, so it's hard a lot of the times. But being like someone who like not having to see people in person was an easy way for me to start kind of trying to branch out. But I found them on TikTok Live, actually.
That's great.
All of them I discovered in one way or another, like on TikTok Live. So, and they all represent like something so different, but so important to me.
Oh, that's fantastic. And yeah, it's one of those, again, those great stories about this community and how it really can create friendships and long-time friendships. And again, help launch people's businesses and careers. And it's the book talk community I absolutely love. But that's been my experiences. I've had so far good experiences. I know that's not the case for everybody, but thankfully mine have been good so far. And I also want to note, I love your backdrop before.
Oh, thank you. My husband, for my 35th birthday, my husband and my mom, my sisters, my dad, you know, my family, they threw me a surprise party, which was a lot for a person who doesn't like, who has really bad anxiety. So I spent half of the time facing the wall for the first 5 minutes, just trying to breathe. But when I saw this, I was like, can you bring it to my house, please? Can I have it? And then he said it was mine, and my husband found it on Pinterest, and he sent it to my mama, and then she made it come to life.
Oh, that's wonderful. I love that. And you're not, you know, I've talked to a lot of people on here, and I feel like the overwhelming number have some level of introversion or anxiety, social anxiety, who are writers. Now, I am on the opposite side, so if I am too much, please let me know.
Oh, you're okay. Thank you,
I
though.
know that. I am an extrovert. But a lot of people who are writers are on the introverted side, and so I totally get that. People can be a lot. I can be a lot. I understand.
I am one of the more introverted people in my family, too. So it's funny because my mom and my sisters, if we're all there, I'm just kind of sitting back chilling, people watching. But it's great and it's fun.
So I actually never thought about this question, so I'm going to ask it right now. You can be the one to answer it. As someone who tends to be on the introverted side, do your characters reflect that, or do you kind of mix and mingle, you know, your type of characters that you're writing?
No, actually, I think that I've written more ambiverts and extroverts than I have introverts to date. There are a couple that are more introverted, but it's actually, no, you're right. They are, like, thinking deeper about it, they are like me, that they're introverted until they're with their people.
Yeah.
When I'm with people who I'm comfortable with, I'm able to open up more and not be so anxious. But when it's like a group of people I don't know, I'm kind of headphones in,
I,
going back.
that makes sense.
And they're the
And I
same.
was just curious because everybody kind of, in some way, shape, or form, we write what we know. And so that can take form in so many different ways or unexpected ways, but I don't know, I never thought about it. If someone who's, because I know I like these powerhouse characters, but I did try to challenge myself now as multiple, I write different series, and it was not my first book or series, but I did start and challenge myself to start writing main characters that were drastically different from me, because I was aware that I go for a certain style of main character. And I was like, I need to be able to represent all sorts of people and all sorts of walks of life to be the writer I want to be. So I get that. But I
I
was
get
just,
that. Yeah, I guess I honestly didn't think about that part until like you said something. So there is one series that I'm working on that the Christmas book kind of like dips its toe into. Um, but they have like a friend group, like a girls like a text message, like a group message, and it's like it's about the girls in the group chat. So, and I have my, a couple of group chats, but like the one from the ladies that I've met since, some of them since elementary school, but most of them since college. And I kind of wanted to reflect that friendship and the different dynamics of the different types of friends. So
yeah,
that'll be fun to finish.
that is fun. Do you have any clue of how long the series is? Because depending on if you're saying you're a mood writer, some people, write with very rigid, idea of how they're going to tackle a series if they're a series writer or a book, and some people don't. So do you have any clue of how long that particular series? You said it's linked to your Christmas one, which is coming out. I'm going to try to repeat this multiple times for people logging in.
It's coming out 12/23, and the pre-order link is already up if you want to get it. If you click on the tree in my bio, you can find it.
I love it. But yeah, so I totally forgot what question I was asking. It'll come back to me if it was
You
important.
asked how many
Books in the
potential
series.
books in the series there would be. Right now, it's planned for 6.
Ooh. And I see in the comments I have another author looking for ARC readers. So if anybody who's looking for ARC, who might be an ARC reader, why don't you post what type of book or genre? Because if someone's in there and wants to be an ARC reader, that does matter. But yes, pre-order books. Pre-orders are amazing. I fail at pre-orders. One, because I never think about doing them, and two, I don't know. I don't think I promote them well enough. Though I've seen them work very, very well for people. I obviously am not that person, or I need to really figure out how to restructure those things. But how long has your book been on pre-order? I was just curious.
Probably about a week. Since December 1st, actually. I think I put it up around then. So I've been trying to talk about it. It's difficult. It's not something that I've done before, obviously. It's my first book. But I do have like a lot of author friends who I can bounce ideas off of, and they let me know if something's a good idea or I should probably just not do that.
And again, being your first time going through everything, it never hurts to try. And if you're like, okay, I like it, but maybe I could do something better next time. You're learning. I'm still learning. I always try to educate myself, but I'm constantly trying to learn. And everything I see, she's paused for a second. But yes, pre-orders are amazing. If you have anybody out here listening in have ever done pre-orders, if you're an author, let me know how your experience is, because I need to figure that one out.
Yeah, it hasn't gone bad. I definitely try to, every time that I post about the book, I say that the pre-order is live. But I with like a month to promote it, you can do so much if you give yourself more time. I will say that is true. And for the fantasy one, I'm definitely going to do at least 30 days of talking about it and trying to drum up attention around it, because this one's important to me. Don't get me wrong.
They should
But that
all
one
be
is,
important to you.
yeah.
See the comment of
Oh, we're
Antonio
fiction
looking
writers.
for ARC readers writing a nonfiction inspiration self-help style book. So there you go. But yeah, it does help. I hear to do pre-orders. Some people go really far out there for pre-orders, and I don't know if there is one strategy that's better than another. But yeah, talk about it as soon as possible. Why not? And let's actually talk about it. So you have your fantasy. Oh, thank you. Your fantasy book you're working on, and it'll potentially be your second one, depending on how your publication schedule goes. So what's your fantasy, your urban high fantasy, which I need to wrap my head around this. I can only guess, and this is my guess, because high fantasy is kind of like on this. Well, okay, no, I don't want to guess. I don't want to guess it wrong. So describe what makes a urban high fantasy, because I always thought they were very different. One being maybe a current world, another second world. I mean, Earth and second world. So what is an urban high fantasy?
Okay, urban high fantasy. What mine is about? Well, I'll say I can't say. I don't know that I've read one similar to mine. But I'm sure that there are books that exist. They're both set. It's set in two different worlds, and it's also set in like Metropolis. So it's urban and it's also that it means all Black characters, and they're speaking in their own natural way that's natural to them. She's from Chicago. The main characters in the book. So it's just a matter of figuring out that there's hidden magic and why and what happens now. What is this other place? What is the magic about? Why didn't you tell me? Because her mother is still alive. I didn't want to do complete parental abandonment because I felt like that was, hey, Livy, an easy way to not have to explain that part. And I feel like it's always done that way. So, yeah.
Right. And it's nice to challenge stereotypes, because there are a lot of people who get comfortable with what they've seen over and over again, and it doesn't have to be that way. And so shake things up. I mean, that's the fun thing, is especially if you're writing fantasy, shake things up.
Yeah. So that's what I'm trying to do. I hope it turns out well. It took about 18 months, and at a certain point thank you guys so much. At a point I rewrote the middle, so that took more time. But it's 136,000 words ish.
Wow.
So it's a big thickum.
I like
But
that.
yeah, so there is, again, but it is high fantasy because it is the magic system. And it's in another realm.
Hey, that is really cool. And the fun thing is, there are more and more books that are breaking away from the very traditional, more rigid, I hate to say rigid, but genres and subgenres. And it is, especially with people who are, indie publishing, small publishing houses that are allowing, are a little more open to some of these other kind of, again, non-traditional style books. There's so much out there, and they are absolutely amazing. So this is exciting.
Yeah.
And for your fantasy, is this going to be part of a series, or is this going to be standalone?
There's a 3-book series.
Very
So
nice.
I'm very excited for that.
That is very nice. And I will have to say, you were talking about writing that size book in 18 months. My first book was probably maybe a little larger than that, but it took me a long time to do it. So you're already like writing all these words and creating this sizable book off the bat. I'm again very impressed. You should be impressed.
Thank you.
So where in the editing process or publishing process are you with that one? Because there are so many stages.
Yeah, so that one's gone through developmental editing. We're working on getting all the little tiny things in the plot just right. And then we'll finish up line and copy and proofread, and then send to somebody else to proofread, and yeah, all that stuff. But like, thank you
Hey,
guys.
see, I love a fan group, and that's amazing that you can see the support you have from your book talk community, and that's amazing.
I love them.
Well, clearly they love you too, so that's great. That's absolutely great. So what made you decide one day you were going to write a book? Because everybody has a different story. And I know mine was I always say I was going to always write a book because I was always telling stories, always creating characters and backstories and multiverses. I didn't know the word at the time, but multiverses. And even from the youngest age, I was telling everybody, oh, I'm going to write a book one day. Had no clue how to do it. But I was just so confident as a young child. And it took me a long time to finally figure it out. But it is interesting to figure out like how everybody just had that spark and decided to one day I'm going to sit down, dedicate my time, and write
Yeah.
a book.
So, my story is a little different. I didn't talk much as a kid. Had to find out, I wrote a lot because words didn't come easily then. And then when I got older, I got into a really bad car accident with my sister. And I was like my English teacher when I was a senior in high school. We had this journal and I was sad a lot. Everyone kind of knew what happened. But he encouraged me to write. And he was just like, put it on the page. Put it on the page. And then he would, back to everything that I wrote, he would write his own notes back to me. And then it encouraged me to continue and keep going. From there, I wrote a lot of poetry and short stories. And then the story that my big sister will tell everybody and that we just talked about is that I got mad at my little brother because when we were in college, I let him use my laptop after I graduated. And then he like broke it, I guess. And instead of giving it back to me so I can take everything off of it, he just threw it away. So I stopped writing for a little bit. And then I was reading a book and I wondered how it would. I really liked the fact that the FMC was in a world where there was magic all around her, but she kind of didn't realize it. But when she found out, that it was hidden magic, things made so much more sense, right? So I wanted to write a story like that about someone like me. And then I did it.
Hey, that's fantastic. Writing is a great form of healing and in so many ways, again, having the privilege of being able to talk to so many different fantastic authors on here now it's been a couple of years doing these lives, but there are definitely a number of authors out there who started because that was a way to heal and to cope, and then they found their voice and found their passion and started making beautiful work where they were willing to share it with others, which is, again,
that's the hard part, letting other people read it.
It is, and I know I'm an extrovert, but to be able to share your words, your thoughts, your intimate feelings with others, that's scary.
It's very scary. And when you're someone who has neurodivergencies here, they're trying to figure out when people don't say things or like you read so much into them and sometimes you can't get out of your head. And it's just like, well, is it bad? Is it that bad? Like, is it bad? Is that why? So that getting past that has been one of the more difficult things. So when people say that they like things, I'm like, I'm actually okay at this.
And I'm sure you're going to get a lot more people liking your work, especially once it's out and available to the world. And that's, again, going back to the point earlier where if you find a writing group, support group, friend group that helps encourage you through the process, that is tremendously helpful for anybody at every stage because, yeah, there are definitely scary parts. And there are parts where even people years and years down the line self-doubt. They'll be working on something. We all question that at some point or another, or consistently. It's part of, I don't know if it's part of being a human or not, but it does seem to be a universal thing where that uncertainty and
Yeah.
being able to make that leap. And I'm very happy that you're about to make that leap.
I,
And
I'm really excited too. Like I said, without this project, without the 12 Days of Black Christmas, I probably wouldn't have released anything this year. And for my 35th birthday, that was like my thing to myself to accomplish something that I wanted to do. And my birthday's in October, but it's it's a birthday gift to myself. It's a Christmas gift to myself. It's an all the things gift to myself.
yes.
So I'm very happy to have my writer friends who invited me on. Nina, hi, is actually the person who I know she hasn't taken like full credit for everything, but like it was her idea to do this and pull people together. And she's brought so many different people together. And we're going to pull some really cool stories, including one that's dark. And I'm really excited for that one.
Ooh,
So,
that's
yes.
very interesting. Now, this is anthologies are something that I'm hoping to get into in the new year. Does your group have you ever talked about doing a group anthology where you all submit a little story and bundle it together? Because that's also a great way to cross promote and the promotional and marketing little hat that we all wear. But it's I don't know. I think they're fascinating, and it's something again I would love to get involved with in 2025.
Yeah, we've talked about doing some things together, not just that group, but then like my other author friend who's in here, Tosh, one day she was just like, I kind of want to do this thing. And we were like, tell me more. And then she started talking about it. And I don't know if an anthology is exactly what she was envisioning, but like if the sky is truly the limit, and since it's a circle, it just keeps coming back around and we can fill it up again.
I love that. I love that. I never thought of it that way, but that is a beautiful way to view it. And no, that is really neat. And it's amazing to me that you're actually as a newbie quote unquote author as you are. It sounds like you're very prolific in your ideas and the fact that you are working on multiple projects. Do you have any like big author plans going forward, or are you going to be focusing on first release and second release?
Yeah, no, I don't have big huge author plans. My editor, she's amazing. It's author nasty down there, but she is helping me in a sense that like we kind of talked about how often I should release for fantasy to keep things on track. Thank you, Denise. And like keep people interested in my work. So we've talked about that. But outside of that, we haven't talked, well, I haven't thought much about it. But to that point, one of my other writer friends, Denise, was like, we should meet together so that we can talk about all of our plans for 2025. So I'll have those soon. They'll be on paper, so they'll exist.
I love that. I love that. And I mean, for me, December, I always want it to be my planning month for the following year. But there are also lots of holidays, and there's always going to be something that comes out. So December is also my least prolific month in the year. So I'm just impressed for anybody who's able to do releases and to do things like you're doing in this month, because for me, it's very chaotic. I don't know about you, but for me, it's a chaotic month.
No, it's a lot happening because I'm trying to write, and then it's Christmas. So I have two girls. One is 8 and one is 6.
Beautiful.
And my husband is also like all things Christmas lover. So we have to do things like we went to the zoo lights, and then we went to the botanical garden, and we've gone to see movies and the tree lighting and the Christmas parade. So it's a big balance of trying to make sure that I'm taking care of me, but also still managing with my family, which I will admit, I hyperfixate sometimes. So like he'll have to come tap me and be like, hey, you gotta come up for air. So, but yeah, it's nice to have someone supportive to make sure that I'm coming up for air.
I get that. And I know at the beginning of this past year, because all the holidays kind of finally ended and I took a breath, and then I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go and make the plans and do all the things bookish. And I am I'd say full-time author and artist. So I balance one with the other. and I'm also a workaholic. So got into it kind of like you, wasn't coming up for air. And after a couple weeks in January, my husband was like, you need to stop. You need to come back to reality and, be with people. And I was like, okay, that's fair. It's one of those things. If you are liking what you do, it's easier to hyperfixate. If you're enjoying the challenge, and it could be challenging, but it could also be thrilling and fun and all that stuff. And
Yeah.
I don't know, as a writer, it's for me easy to kind of fixate on your world, your characters, what
And
happens.
it's so much to me, I guess, at least, it's so much more of a spiritual experience. And I didn't realize how, like, because I would always see authors say, like, oh, blame the characters, not me. But now that I've written books myself, I see, like, how your hands are moving, but the words truly aren't yours. And it's so creepy and so weird, but at the same time, it's so cool. And I find myself, thank you. I find myself sometimes forgetting that I'm me. And like I will be talking about something and I'm not even remembering that Shanice is an interior designer. I didn't write it down anywhere, like it's just in my head. But as I'm writing her chapter, she walks into his house for the first time and she's like cataloging everything unintentionally. So, just because that's just her job. So it's a part of who she is. So it's interesting to experience that part of it.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that's a little it's a little weird, but I like it.
Oh, no, it is absolutely fun. And again, there are so many different authors, so someone else's experience could be very different, but a little akin to what you're talking. Oh, I understand that because I plan out a decent amount, but I also try to allow enough freedom where the characters become alive and the story starts moving along and taking its own form. And because of that, even going all the way back to my first book, I had a character write himself into being, and he ended up being a huge player throughout the whole series. Never originally planned for him, but he was like, nope, I'm in it to win it.
Yeah, it's like, who's Kevin? I don't know. He's here though.
It's like, he's here now.
Apparently we have to talk about Kevin.
But it is weird because you're the writer, but you're kind of almost like a vessel for the story.
Definitely a vessel. And for me, like my editor / coach, because I ask her a whole bunch of questions. I've talked about how sometimes I feel like writing is difficult. Like, people say just sit down and just like put your fingers on the keyboard and write. But like I'm a visual reader and a visual writer. So like I can see kind of the storyline playing out for me. And if I like stray away from it, it's like delete, pull it back. Like, no, that's not right. So if I end up writing just to write, on the reread, I kind of end up deleting it anyway because I'm like, no, that's not what was supposed to happen. This is what's supposed to happen. So yeah, but I have to learn to balance the experiencing the story and writing so that it doesn't take 18 months for the next one.
It will get better and it will get easier and the whole process will start speeding up until you find that good pace for you, because there are definitely people who push themselves too much that they hit burnout, and you don't want that. You want to give yourself, enough time to do whatever it's needed. And there are going to always be authors out there. I have some friends that are very adamant about it and say, hey, if it takes me 2 years to write a book, it's going to take me 2 years to write a book, but I'm giving it the time, the dedication, what the book needs to make it as good as possible. Now, not all authors need that. A lot of authors can write a book quicker. And then there are some that you blink and there's another book, Sanderson. And you're wondering, how is this possible? But everybody has their own speed, and that whole thing of you don't judge yourself against someone else, you try to just be the best you possible. And
yes, I've learned that. I learned that in the beginning because I was on a live with one of the first times, and they were talking about how long it took them to write a book, and they were like, 2 months. Someone was like, oh, I can get it done in like 3 weeks. And I was like, oh, it's taking me a year. So I learned then very early on that I shouldn't judge my progress based on anyone else's. And Tasha's right. I did write the Christmas book in less than 18 months. So yeah.
See? Each time is going to get a little easier and a little, you're going to have your voice, your rhythm. Plus, depending on genres, there are, the epic side of fantasy, which are usually these meatier, chunkier things. Same with lit RPG. But then there are a lot of romance, or, on the slightly shorter, the young adults are usually shorter. And just depending on your age bracket and genre, that could be another big reason why someone's taking 4 years and someone else takes 2 months. There are a lot of things to think about. But when you hear someone, another author talk about, oh, I just wrote another book, and you're like, oh, well, take a breath. Just remind yourself it's not a competition.
So that's true.
Mm-hmm. It's something that I had to go educate myself, and because I am a competitive person, go figure. And when I hear someone else spitting out a book, but I always want to, again, do right by my book. So again, if it takes time, it takes time. You do right by your own stories because you want them to be your best book children as possible.
Yeah, agree. Definitely.
I love it. And I see a whole bunch of comments. I'm sorry that I'm not like reading them all aloud.
There's a lot of them. And I have a hard time reading comments and talking at the same time anyway, but they know that.
I am trying to pay attention to if there is a question or something like that to make sure I try to answer those or anything like that, or read them aloud at least, and then.
World building is exhausting. World building is exhausting.
Yes.
It's fun and exhausting at the same time, because half the time it's either that you don't do enough or you build too much, and then it kind of didn't matter anyway, and you wasted your time.
Well, hey.
Not wasted your time. That's a bad phrase, but you got too much, and you just leave it there.
Hey, you never know. If you world build too much, as you were saying, you could always down the line release a special edition, or if you're a person that sells directly, do like a direct exclusive version where you add some extra information in the background and the appendices, and be like, you want to learn more? I got you. You never know. They're all tricks of the trade. I love world building. I have 2 series, and I write multiple series at the same time. I'm weird. I don't necessarily advise it, but I do. But I have 2 series that I'm world building for, and it's a lot of fun, but I'm kind of loosely doing it. I'm like making notes, and like when an idea comes to me, kind of jotting it down. And then this coming year, I'm going to pick one of those 2 and sit down and be like, let's go.
Are they interconnected at all?
No, all my series are very different.
It's okay. I was just wondering. But that might make it a little easier, because like your words, like they're not joining together, like they're 2 separate ideas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. Again, I do a lot of things that I don't necessarily advise other people, but I still do them anyway. And so the fact that
enjoy it, that's what matters.
I do. I always see the new shiny thing, and I'm like, wait, I want to do that. Let's create a world for that. And I do try to finish the series and keep them at pace, but always have something else coming at this moment in time.
Yeah.
One day I'm gonna have writer's block, and I'll be very sad. But so far that hasn't happened.
That's awesome.
But let me ask, since the hour is starting to speed by, because always around this time is when it's gonna start sprinting. There were a couple questions I try to make sure I ask everybody, because if this platform's nice, most of the time it is, sometimes it's finicky. I'll be able to repurpose this on my YouTube channel and put all your content below so people can find and follow you and get your books going forward. But one thing I like to ask is, where do you have a place outside of Book Talk that you hub? Do you have a website, a newsletter, other socials, that kind of thing?
I'm working on it.
Hey,
newsletter. Thank you. Love you too. I'm working on it. I have an Instagram. It's Rielle Knight Books. I got a threads to match it. I haven't said anything yet, because I'm like, I don't know what to say, but I got it. And then I got a Blue Sky, and I think it's Books by Rielle. And then my website is pending currently, but it's also booksbyrielle.com.
Hey,
because
it's
I'm
hard
just doing that
to
stuff.
It's hard to establish. It's hard to do some of these things and get your foot going or foot in the door. And I get it. It takes time. And time is one of those commodities most people don't have enough.
And it drains my social battery. So it's just like, I can do this for a little bit, but then I kind of don't want to do it anymore. So I'm trying to not get to that point.
Yeah, and that's also a good point because you don't need to be on all the platforms. You can be on one or two and do amazing there. And that's really the thing, is find what you're comfortable with, focus on it, do the best, kind of like what you're writing, do the best you can be on those platforms. And, at any point you feel confident and you want to expand, great. If not, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. I always advise probably two, because you never know when a platform's going down looking at the government. But outside of that, do what you feel comfortable with. And I'm a big repurposer. So anything I can repurpose, because yes, do it. If you have a post, or I don't know what threads I was going to say, tweet or X, whatever they
do. The same thing. I got rid of.
Do that, and like any videos I do this, I kind of rotate around my others and vice versa. So I'm trying to work as smart as I can without working as hard. Smarter, not harder. And so that's one way I kind of try to function, so I'm not consumed by the social media side of things. When we're writers, we want to write.
Yeah, that's true. I don't really want to do social media, but I have to. Apparently, initially my plan was kind of to go in faceless. And then I was just like, I'm just going to publish it, and then like not just throw it at the wall. And if somebody finds it, cool. But if not, I was doing it for me anyway. Mm-hmm. But then I got yelled at and told that was a dumb plan. So.
Okay, whoever yelled at you, kudos, because I was my original plan. And I published my first book, and about 2 years later, with like no sales, I was like, something's wrong. I thought the world was going to discover me. That's not exactly how the world works. I wish it did. And so that's when I had to like reconfigure and teach myself, what the heck do I do? From here. So again, having a group that all has like different kind of experiences and can give you suggestions, great stuff. And yes, unfortunately, the way the world works, authors still need to be present somewhere, because that's a big part of how our books can be found. By the way,
yeah, it's a big thing about also ourselves and people wanting to connect books to people. Mm-hmm. Love you too, Dimples. I learned that people, like for you, they'll support you as a person, even if it's not necessarily the genre that they'll read, but they know someone who wants to read it. Like not everyone reads contemporary romance. Not everyone wants to read some holiday book, but somebody does. And by them sharing and doing everything else, like they just send it to other people, and that's, to me, I think, an important part. Support
makes great holiday gifts and birthday gifts.
And then people read it, and then you have to deal with the part that people read it, and people can see what you feel is like your inner thoughts.
It is good. It's a very strange thing, especially early on, and it's something that you can get a little more used to, but it's always going to be a little odd. And no matter, again, where you are, part of you is going to wonder, will someone like it? Guess what? Someone will.
And me and my sister were talking about that earlier, and I was like, what if somebody likes it? Love you too, AK. She was like, then somebody likes it. Duh. Like, it's, are you afraid of succeeding? Yeah, because then I have to talk to people. And I have to people.
Or you can have interfaces like this, or, you can figure out, again, what is your comfort zone. You don't have to do the face-to-face signings if you don't want to. You could do a virtual signing. You can make it work for you, however, again, your comfort area is. But one of my other questions, before I forget, I love little gummy bears. One of the questions I always want to make sure I ask, especially since you have your book on pre-order, where can people, one, pre-order your book, and two, where will your book be sold going forward? Again, are you exclusive through Amazon? What kind of formats? I know there's a lot of multi-question. I do a lot of multi-question.
Okay, so this first one, it'll be in Kindle Unlimited,
Nice.
just so that I have something in there so that people can say that they have an opportunity to read something of mine, you know. But after that, I kind of don't like them. So I will just be 100% honest. Like my page, I've said it like in the thing. It's beneficial, but the way that they treat authors, specifically indie authors, when traditionally published authors are not the reason that Kindle Unlimited blew up in the first place is wild to me. So this first book will be in KU, but then thank you, Jesse. Then after that, it's going to be on my website. But as you know, since it'll be in KU, I can't sell it anywhere else for the first 90 days. So it'll be there for the first one. But then after that, I am taking it back so that I can control it myself where I put it, because only allowing people to read it via the Zon is like, there's so many other places that do not require you to solely sell your work through them. So, yeah.
That's true, and I agree with that. It's one of the reasons why this past year I was pulling all my ebooks out of KU and moving them toward wide. Of course, life gets in the way, and I'm still in that process. I have also a number of books, and it's very overwhelming just to look at. So, still in that process. But I do like that fact that I immediately created my own online shop and put them on there first, so I at least had another alternative and have been working, you know, again, to spread them wider and wider. But I agree with you. I agree with you with that. I would prefer the fact that we Indians will give so much back to the bookish community. It would be nice that some of these bigger platforms would realize that and be, you know, treat us fairly for.
Yeah, and then like Isla was saying, like to be able to support libraries. Like they're not exempt from the rules that your book can only be on KU, from what I read when I was looking at the contract. So that's, if I can't have it in the library, this book probably might not be in the library, but the fantasy one could be. But I really wanted the possibility for that to be there.
Yes, absolutely. And I've been working with Draft to Digital to kind of start distributing the ebook side of things wide, and they do have some online some of the places that you can opt into or some of the library systems. So that's I totally agree with that. Yeah. Are you going to have any physical, so paperback or hardcover or anything like that?
Yes, the Christmas one, I haven't done I haven't uploaded the doc everything for the paperback yet. And don't pew me, but I don't know if I'm going to do like it this year. But the fantasy one will definitely be in paperback. Like when it's ready, like it'll be paperback, and I might even have them format and stuff for like hardcover. Or I might do a special for that one when the whole series is published. But it will be in paperback, and it will be available on my website, Books by Rielle, when it comes up. Are yelling at me about the paperback.
Hey, again, this is, you know, a first time, and so bums, kinks, you know, concerns, needing, you know.
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. I just don't know if it's gonna go for pre-order, is what I'm saying.
Gotcha.
I will do it, and it will come up, but it might come up on the day of versus like being able to pre-order it.
Yes.
That's what I mean, specifically.
My advice out there, and again, that all depends. Everybody else has probably different opinions, but make sure you order a proof so you can see, you know, how it prints, because depending, sometimes the covers don't align the way you think they're going to align, if that makes sense. So it never hurts to order a proof and get that going. So for whatever reason, proofs take forever to ship, it feels like. Other things, not so much. But the proofs, they feel like they sit on them for a while. I don't know. But yeah, I have a series that's a novella series, and I release them all in ebooks in sets of 4 first. And so the first 4 were out, and then I bundled them in an omnibus where I released that in a print. So I kind of staggered it too. And there are definitely people who would like it all together right away, but because they're novellas, I didn't want something so small. Just personal taste. I like chunky books, and so I wanted, you know, sizable books on my shelf, and so that's why I opted to wait and release prints in sets of 4. And people are willing to wait once they're excited about something. So
Yeah.
but you
So
also thought
like I
about
will
it
do
to
it.
remind them.
I know they've yelled at me. I've already seen 4 messages that told me that that's foolery and then I have to get the paper back up. So I will do it. Um,
You got this. You got this. I have faith. And but yeah, no, it's such an exciting thing. It's definitely an exciting thing to be able to release your first book and having a holiday one, because now what I've heard, and someone else can correct me because I've never released a holiday book, but what I've heard when people release holiday books, obviously around said holiday, they do very, very well, but then there's kind of slumps in between, just because people aren't thinking of, you know, if you're doing something for Christmas in the middle of the summer necessarily. So I do know that's one thing to be aware of. But again, when it's the holiday season, people love that. I have some authors friends that release a smaller book every year around the holidays because they're like, it's a thing.
yeah. I'll have this now at least next year to do a little earlier, and like NASA asked, like for a book box next year, maybe
That would
I'll be able to do one for Christmas because it'll be done, and then I'll be able to do it.
That
Hey,
would be
Sissy.
fun. And book boxes are, you know, you can get very creative. You can keep it fairly simple, but they're special. And I love them.
I've already started planning my book box for my fantasy book, and it's so cool and it's so fun. And Candace, you're gonna have to help me. I know that's not why you came in here, but yeah. So, but yeah, I'm really excited for that. It's going to be really cool. I've already started getting things for it, that are like personalized, but it's going to be great to me, I guess.
I love that. It's very exciting. And yeah, no, I've been able to get a few book boxes from other people I've met on this platform, and I do like a photo shoot, and I obsess about all the things because everybody personalizes them in so many fun ways. And I try to offer book boxes, but I don't know. I feel like I need to level up.
It's hard. It's a lot of work to do. I feel like that's like a whole different level of stress, and I think that needs to be planned. And
Yes.
for me personally, I stress about everything. So if it's something like that, I really have to like plan super far in advance. I started buying stuff for that before the book was even done, which was a little, but I was like, oh, I like it. I'm getting it. So I've been trying to plan far in advance, and then I was working on the box design heavy on next year. And I can't wait for it. So it's really cool.
Oh, that's so neat. I'm excited. Things like that get me excited. I love that. That's absolutely fun. And it's so funny because I always tell myself I'm going to plan further out ahead and be better at it, but it never really happens. And same thing for like holiday gifts, Christmas gifts, all that kind of stuff. I'm like, oh, anytime I see something, I'm going to get it right there. And then the holiday comes and I'm like, oh my. I need to shop for everybody.
Yeah, I don't do that. My husband is the Christmas person, so he does the majority of the shopping, and he's asked me 4 times already what my mama wants. And she said new needs, and I can't give her that. So I still don't have anything to give her. But he's just like, I'm just gonna buy something. So yeah, but I'm with you. Like I have to do it now or else I'll forget.
It's a skill to like teach yourself to like plan in advance, and but it's a good skill to have.
My notes are very manic, but I write a lot of stuff down.
Well, since we have just a little bit of time, I'm going to ask for you, as well as all the listeners, if there's any topic you wanted to cover that we didn't cover, any questions you had that you wanted to ask that you didn't get a chance to ask, because we do have a few more minutes, so this is that time.
Oh, I don't have any questions, but I wanted to say thank you for allowing me into your space, because I know that you found me on a video and then decided to invite me, so I appreciate that. This is my first talk in the capacity of an author, and that feels really weird to even say that I'm an author. But like, I just thank you. I don't have questions, but if they have questions, I'll answer
Well,
them.
if
But
you ever want to do another one of these, I mean, I plan them weekly. I do try to plan them fairly in advance. Again, the whole scheduling thing, I am a scheduler. But I love being able to meet other people in the book community. And this particular platform, I hope less, but this particular platform is just such an amazing space for the book community to meet people and find people and get to know and make actual friends, and it's really neat. So I love being able to meet everybody. It's kind of like, funny thing is, I never watched Pokemon. I was a Digimon person, but it's like catching them all. I want to catch them all. I want to meet all the authors that I can. And so it's just a joy to be able to talk to people like you on here.
thank you. So she said, what other genres may you want to write in the future? And I always say heavy on the mood writer. I kind of write what I feel, because for me, that's at this current point in my writing journey, that's the best way to tap into my emotions. So I have fantasy, contemporary romance, there is a psychological thriller, and yeah, that I do have planned kind of already. So those are the three like that I know of, and those are big ones. And that's enough. It's a lot.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that is a lot. And I as a person, I love fantasy. I stick more to the epic high fantasy second world style, and that's my bubble right now. But there are so many subgenres and almost very niche genres now. It's just fun for me to be able to kind of explore all of that. And so that's why every time I write a series or a book, they're very different.
yeah, it's different. And I think that when I start writing, I know like the basis, like the top, the biggest genre that I want it to be. But a lot of times I think that they kind of like twist their way into each other. Will you write an alien book for your dad? I will write an alien book for my dad. There's that one's on the paper already.
Ooh.
Hey, Daddy.
That is so cool. That's hey, again, genre jumping is fun, and the wider you jump, again, can bring you so much joy. Just remember, marketing's a little hard when you jump genres. I've realized this because I do it every time. And so it starts from scratch. Not necessarily, but it does feel like that sometimes.
Yeah.
Regardless, it's what I want to do. It brings me joy, it brings me happiness. So, follow your heart, follow your mood.
Yeah, I know that that's something that isn't necessarily advised, genre jumping, or to use different pen names, but I don't have the capacity to have all those different social media handles. So I'm like, you guys are gonna just have to take what you can get from me, and I will appreciate it even if you don't want to read it.
My thing is, if I jumped something so dramatic, like if I decided to do a spicy book, then maybe I would do a pen name at that point. But outside of that, as long as I'm sticking more or less fantasy, maybe sci-fi.
But yours is they're able like middle grade. I want to say when I was looking like is yours can be read in middle grade, some of them?
So
Mine is so my fantasy book is new adult and up.
So I have one series which is young adult, but it does start on the younger side of YA. And for people who don't know, that's around 13. Some people say 12. So still relatively young, and the kids age up and everything. And that one's my family-friendly, clean fantasy. Fantasy. I was like, I could ramble on and on and on, all these genres and subgenres and niche things. But my other series that I have are new adult or adult. And the ones in the works going forward are, as far as I can see in the next handful of years, are going to be adult, possibly new adult side of things. I may come back to YA at some point, but I like the ability to play with certain topics, themes, and I like action battles, to have certain level of grit that I would not be comfortable writing in a YA. So that's where I am at the moment. But I do have a YA. Clean fantasy.
Yeah, 'cause I'm like, I remember seeing something like family friend, like seeing
Oh yes.
one that said like videos that said like family friendly. Because I did a dive through your page just so I could know like who I was talking to and like all that stuff. I was looking at it. You have those videos. You post a lot, and Jazzy would say that's great because sometimes you post like 3 or 4 times a day, which is excellent, and I commend you for that because I see it. I saw it.
That's good. That's good. That's what I'm trying. It can be exhausting, but again, I've figured out ways and methods to make it quicker, more efficient, and take less time for me. And that's the thing is I've tried a lot of things and continuing to try the things to make it again less is more when it comes to social media, so then I can focus more on writing. And yeah.
Okay, cool.
But thank you again for coming out and talking. It is towards the end of the hour. Thank you for your huge fandom group and your friends out here supporting you, because that is phenomenal. I think you have the most vocal group that I've seen so far, and I've been doing these for a couple years, so that's
cool.
amazing.
I love that.
Amazing. And again, if you ever want to do one of these, feel free to let me know. I try to plan them in advance. They're pretty conversational, and of course, always love to see a chatty group coming in supporting, because it just makes me smile to see stuff like that.
Yes, I'm happy because I was nervous. So thank you, everybody.
Hey, you didn't sound nervous. You did fantastic. And for everybody who's on and doesn't realize it, she has a book coming out on the 23rd. And it's on pre-order now. So that is my wrap-up statement. But until next time, everyone, happy reading. And thank you again for joining. I'm going to say my farewells. Bye, everyone.